Hi, I'm Bradshaw, and this is painting a flower of some orchids. The painting I first drew out, and then I try to always make the drawing have at least 3 sides, something touching the border. After I've got the drawing, you're seeing me putting on a masking fluid. It's kind of like rubber cement. You can buy it at the art store. It's put on with a big brush, not very carefully on this painting, and it takes a bit to dry after. Make sure it's dry, and also do not put this on wet paper because it will actually rip the paper if you put it on wet paper. So you make sure the paper is completely dry. And then you can put this masking fluid. I'm putting it everywhere that I want to protect the whites, and I don't want my background to get into the flowers, so I'll put this on and sort of keep it fresh whites. Then I'm going to, you can watch more on my YouTube channel or go to my website, lauraleebradshaw.com. Now I've got all those places I want to keep white done. Okay. That's fun, huh? I didn't talk while the blow dryer was going because we can't talk when we're doing that. Now another thing about this alcohol, I can actually drop little drops on. Notice how it makes a pattern, kind of bleaches out where the yellow watercolor is. That should look good. I'm kind of doing a thing where we have circles because these flowers have circles. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put these jars on in certain fashions. Here we go. And when I put these on, what will happen is it will make a ring sort of in the area where the jar is, on the edges, and it will make a beautiful pattern going on in the background. Well, this is kind of what nature does anyways. It has things that suck and pull and move. So I'm just putting a few of these jars on. That make them glass so that they can sort of have some weight to them. I even have one larger jar. I'll put this one here. And this larger jar I'll put kind of in that area. That would be good. So you see how that's working? It's collecting under the jars. It's kind of collecting some of the darks. I think I'd also like to do one more thing. Have this sepia color. Maybe put some little bit of darker in some of the places. I hope this works out. I hope I didn't make a problem. So what I'm doing is I took some of this sepia and I actually put the alcohol and mix that so it will be diluted some with the alcohol. Right, like that. Now I'm going to add a couple of little spots here and there. Not a lot. I don't want to really take over and have this painting a lot of darks. I just want a little bit of values here and there. Maybe that's enough. Don't ever get too carried away. That's one thing I have to always remind myself, to just sort of hold it good, you know. Now what I want to do is slowly put the blow dryer on. Kind of fun, huh? Well, I'm just gotta let it sort of dry, and as it dries I'm gonna see if I can pick up some of these jars and where they might flow. I'll see how that goes. You can see from this that that's going to look pretty cool, those circles, huh? As I take them off, they have to dry a little more, some of these. But that's kind of the idea to start with, okay? Now that you've got the jars and the circles, take off your masking fluid that kept some of the flower area white, and then we're just going to put some little bit of toning to get the white kind of pushed down. I always feel like you have to sort of get your values going first, you know. The white really offsets the painting by having some whites, but it also makes it hard to see where you're at. So I like to just kind of quickly put in a medium value, and you notice how I sprayed that with a spray bottle to sort of dissipate it and make it just a soft value now. It will get a lot more intense as we go. But you know, these orchids have a purple tone, but purple's a hard one to get the right colors. So I used actually purple out of the tube, and then some of this geranium lake. It's a really pretty sort of fuchsia color. And just, you can notice I don't stay on one flower. I'm spraying it again. I'm going from one to the other, deciding, let's see, a little darker here, a little lighter here, and many times I take just straight water and make a puddle on top of the pigment on the paper. Just take straight water and put it on, or spray it with a spray bottle. And now you can see how it's starting to look quite nice with that green yellow background, and then the complement of the warm reds which is a purple. You know, yellow and purple are the complements, but I actually have a sort of coral tones here and there too. That goes with the greens. And you're gonna see we're just gonna slowly, but it works. You slowly just get darker and darker. That's how watercolors work. You start with your lights and you go to your darks. And I like to kind of punctuate the flowers with darkening up some of the background. So I'll be putting some more greens in and the stems, kind of get a flow of the pattern here. It's got the circles, and then so my vines and they're going to be adding some linear forms, which actually I keep kind of in a undulating way so that it's not straight. This painting is very feminine, very fluid, and so we just kind of go from one to the other, adding some of these fluid lines. It's funny how in the process you could even stop here and call it good. This is how painting is. You can keep going, and sometimes people ask, well, how do you know when it's finished? And that's a good question. Many times it looks finished and then you just keep going. You might wreck it at that point when you do too much. As I said before, kind of just call good. So I do have some splashes here and there, and I'll flick my brush and make splashes. That will be like little droplets of color, but also those droplets will end up being part of the circle ideas. And I want to get darks. I always have this philosophy to put 5 values. So your white of your paper is 1, and you need a really dark, which would be black, but I don't think black would look good with this painting. Nevertheless, like, there still is a gradation from white to medium to darker to dark, and that makes your painting pop. You want to, of course, with watercolor, you want to leave some of your whites. Don't ever paint out all the whites. There's white here where I had it masked off, and I actually am putting in a blue. Later I'll put yellow on top, and that will make it so it has a glaze. We call that a glaze. So this is another leaf I'm putting in. And you notice where it was lighter on the circle? That's kind of cool how watercolors has a transparent quality, and the lighter part is lighter always. The green is the same green, but it shows up a little lighter as it crosses over the circle that is lighter. You know, under that jar that kind of kept that protected from getting dark. But you see how these darks are starting to make the whites and the flowers pop out? And then we have 3-dimensionality going on a 2-dimensional surface. And I like to kind of emphasize certain areas. And also make, here's splashing, and watch my hand. I actually am protecting the flower when I splattered some little drops of paint. I didn't want them all over the, now I'm just kind of going here and there, and see how I put my finger and then I flick the paintbrush with my finger. That's a great way to flick droplets. I know it makes it look easy, but I've been doing art for Ever since I was a little girl, I was obsessed with art when I was young. And then I, of course, went to college, got a master's in sculpture. So sometime look at my YouTube channel and watch me do a sculpture. I do teach watercolors at the college here in Utah. I live in Utah. And so I've gotten to love watercolors as well as sculpture. But of course, if you get a master's, you sort of learn how to do everything: draw, paint, sculpt, even ceramics. I like to do all these things, and if you came and saw my studio, you'd think, oh my goodness, I've got a sculpture going. Actually, I've got about 3 sculptures going right now, and about 3 paintings going. Keeps me busy, not bored, that's for sure. Now you noticed how I went back over that blue and kind of toned it so it would match some of the greens and not be just so strong of a blue. But I do kind of put some blues here and there, and now I'm going to go back in, and this part is the detailing. The very darks, which I would have said was the value of black, but I never use black. Do not use black. If you're going to make a dark, you can always use the complements. So if I was making a dark green, I would add red or dark blue into that green, and it would make it darker. Now, with red, to make that darker, don't use black, use a little bit of purple or blue in it, and then it will still look as if it's a red, but it won't look muddy. Black is not a good color. Sometimes though, yeah, you do need to, and actually if you do want a real nice black, I suggest you get some Indian ink, black Indian ink, and it goes on smooth and very consistent. So if you do want black, that's the thing I suggest. Anyway, oops, let's see. Here's little detailing doing, and I'll put little dots, and then I'll put water right on top of each of those dots, and it kind of mutes it. There, see, dot, dot, dot. And then sort of, I'll put the line of the edge of that, and then I'll blur it in so that it has a hard edge on one side and a soft gradating on the other. There they are, dot, dot, dot. Now water on top and kind of mute them. Yeah, there we go. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and watch me on YouTube, Bradshaw. Thank you. All done.